you've mentioned, we want to know what our people think about our benefits. How do we do that? How do we ask that question? Is it surveys? A lot of employers aren't allowed, the benefits team's not allowed to survey on things.
Right.
So how do we pull that information out to get that feedback? Because you're right, if I don't know if people even like my benefits, I how am I supposed to decide what to offer next if I have no idea what people think about anything that I'm already doing?
Yeah. Data well, here's where data is really important, right? You can't make these decisions without data. Otherwise, you're just guessing. And maybe in some organizations that's okay, but for most part, it's not. So, if you don't have the data, first thing is to understand whether you have the data, and if you don't have the data, how do you get it?
Yeah,
So, this is where being around for a million years is helpful because I can remember days when we were doing this on paper, right?
right?
And now you can partner. We've been very successful partnering with solutions and plans to use the technology that's available to us. The quick hit kind of thing in the moment is what you really want to go to. So that's why I say I would tell you that I think asking people, "What do you think of our benefits?" is a terrible idea. You're not going to get useful information out of that, right? If you're
Right.
saying, "Do you have a need that's not being met? What is it?" That's a very different question, right? Do you have
Totally.
and again, if you're particularly concerned about your attraction for a certain demographic, and
Right.
what the data is telling you, external data is telling you, they care about these 3 things. You can work with your partners. We very successfully worked with a health plan, with a couple of point solutions, having them interject just a simple kind of happy, sad, neutral face at the end of an experience to say, "What'd you think?" Right? And that started to give us the data to use that we could think about attitude. The other thing is, where do they go? What do they do? And so just literally pulling in the drift of digital data that shows up with interactions, the systems that we have now are capable of doing a lot, but we have to think early on when we're setting it up about, are we gathering the data that we need to do the analysis at the end? So those are 2 things that I think about. First of all, look at your internal systems. The systems that are the HRIS stuff that's out there today can do a lot of things. Unfortunately, what happens is it's siloed over in IT. IT runs the setup of it. They don't necessarily talk to HR operations or the benefits team about it, and it gets built without the ability to gather that data. So that internal collaboration is super critical to getting the output that you need to understand where to go next.